Welcome to Gate City Chatter, a podcast showcasing the creative people and cultural happenings that make Greensboro, North Carolina a well-read place to be. Staff from the Arts and Events section of the City of Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department produce this podcast. We record and edit Gate City Chatter here at Press Play Studios, located in the Greensboro Cultural Center. This is your host, Josh Sherrick, joined as always by my co-host, Matt Feltz.
Hey, Josh.
How you doing, buddy?
All right.
Yeah? Good, man. Green on green.
Green on green action.
All of those listeners out there are enjoying that.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to love it.
They can't see anything.
I suggested well read as a joke, by the way.
Yeah, well.
But you did it.
I did it.
Jumped off that edge. Okay.
Went for it. And why would it be well read, Matt? We have some awesome guests today, or what? We are so happy to welcome Shannon Jones and Steve Colyer with the Greensboro Bound Literary Festival to the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So Shannon, you are the children's coordinator and the store manager at Scuppernong, and highly engaged in the festival.
That's right. I am involved mainly with the children's committee side of things,
Nice.
and I also do a lot on the author school visits that we do throughout the year, in addition to the children's programming for the festival.
Very nice. And Steve, you're technically the secretary of the Greensboro Literary Organization, but you do so much more.
I'm the only one of the few people who doesn't have another job, so I spend a lot of time focusing on this thing.
You have the time. Well, thank you so much for dedicating so much time to this. So we had a couple other mates from the festival come in last year prior to Greensboro Bound's first year. And everybody was like, what? We're doing this new literary festival, a book festival here in Greensboro. What's it going to be like? And I think I joined pretty much everyone in the community I talked to and say what a success the first year was. Happened back in May of 2018 and it was incredible. So we're so happy to have you guys back again to talk about the 2019 festival and some other activities that are coming up. But yeah, so just to kind of get us started, give us a quick synopsis of what happened last year. I mean, we all had sort of like an uncertain amount of energy that was just built up prior to last year's Bound Festival, and tell us kind of how it went on from your perspective.
Well, we were really pleased at the end of the day. We are an all-volunteer organization, and when you're all volunteer, you never know if everything's going to come together the way it wants to, or the way you want it to. Turned out that we had set kind of as a goal, we wanted the attendees to have just an incredible experience, to have the authors to have an incredible experience, to have the volunteers, the sponsors, to have an incredible experience, even the exhibitors, and it turned out that we did it.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed to have a really good time. The authors particularly said, this doesn't feel like a first year effort. It really feels like you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And since we were learning by doing, that was pretty great.
That was a pretty good pat on the back.
So in any event.
But you know where that came from is, I remember some of the initial meetings we had, and you guys were so well organized. And you had been preparing. It's not like you just decided you wanted to do this 2 months out. You've been preparing for at least a year ahead of time.
We have been.
And you had your books, and you had everything lined up. So that, in creating a successful event, you had the partnerships, you had the people, you had the details ironed out. All we had to do was just sort of help hold the door open, and you guys came in and did it.
That's all we did.
And I tell you, the other two things that I think are remarkable is how much support we got from the community as a whole. The array of sponsors that said, we're going to help, we're going to support you financially, we're going to support you operationally, like y'all. And then we also, Scuppernong Books is a unique enterprise. It's an indie bookstore. All indie bookstores are by their very nature unique. But Brian Lankin, Steve Mitchell, and Dave and Deb White, they were willing to take a risk, and they were willing to go ahead and say, yeah, let's give this thing a try. And that's not, I don't know that everybody would be willing to do that. So
Yeah.
It worked.
Kudos to the team. I remember the first time we met, must have been about a year in advance, and everybody's like, hey, what do we do about the city? So I said, look, I'll handle the city stuff. We'll be on board. We'll lower that barrier, and that's kind of like our role from the city side, is like, how do we just make it as easy as possible for folks that have unique ideas or unique efforts? They're going to put their money there. They're going to put their time and effort to produce this thing. How do we just get government out of the way and let this thing happen? And it turned out to be a great synergy. So 2018, 2019, did you learn some lessons? Did you learn some things that are going to make this year's festival a little bit different? Some new people on board? Kind of how would you say you've changed the operation and the approach this year?
More margaritas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everywhere, every corner.
Coffee.
Hey, if the city of Greensboro can pull off the licensing for that, then I mean, I don't
Josh?
think we're up.
Whoa,
Josh.
whoa, hey, it's a lot of pressure.
I think we had like 5 things that we wanted to do differently. One was, we learned we could do it, now we want to become more efficient at it. We wanted to ensure that there was a explicit and conscious outreach to as many communities as possible, and that's from both the standpoint of attendee as well as author. Third is we wanted to reach to plus 55 communities. God bless them, they bring buses to attend things. We had a very, very concerted focus on trying to upscope the children's and young adult program. And then the last thing is we wanted to increase the array of partnerships. So
I think that sounds a lot like what we try to do as far as like the city's Parks and Rec department goes. There's always an effort to go through and increase sort of the areas that we're at. Those communities that might not normally have the access to a bit of programming. We actively are trying to get out there, include more people, more sort of diversity among the programs. And to hear you guys sort of echoing that sort of sentiment, means that you've really thought it out, and your goals to sort of increase that engagement are really, I think, a very good way to go.
And especially in a lot of our children's programming, I know that's a goal of ours at Scuppernong, as well as just in the larger Greensboro Bound organization, is representation something that we really strive for with our kids programming and the types of kids authors and kids books that we bring in, because I think there's a really special thing as a kid when you can see an author who is like you, whether they are of the same racial or ethnic background as you, whether they are of the same like sexuality or gender identity as you, same socioeconomic level as you. When you see someone who wrote this book and they are like you and they are telling a story that reflects your life, that goes from being removed and saying, oh, only these certain types of people write books, to saying, my story is important, my story matters, and is worth being told. And that's really an experience I want kids who come to the festival to have, to see, wow, I can do this too, my story matters.
So you're in charge of the children's section, I guess. Well, you're the store manager of Scuppernong anyway, right?
I am, and then I'm also our children's buyer and coordinator.
And what's your
as well.
favorite children's book that you've got in there right now?
My favorite children's book that I have in there right this second, I have a couple. One of my favorites that I have in is actually from a pair of authors that are coming to the festival. It is called I Am Farmer by Miranda Paul and Baptiste Paul. And it tells the story of a man in Cameroon who basically started a sustainable farming effort in his community and like rescued the economic situation of his community. And we really like to carry books that, some fanciful, fun, silly ones like the Mo Willems, like the absurd fun books, but also books that really tell real stories and things that are happening in the world is something that I'm passionate about. Like we have a pretty big kids science and STEM picture book section.
Awesome, yeah.
And that actually kind of falls in the book I Am Farmer kind of falls into that. So that is definitely one of my favorites. And then we also have a book that's a year or two old now called Red, A Crayon Story by Michael Hall. And it is the story of a blue crayon who got a red wrapper at the factory. And he spends his whole life thinking that he is terrible at being red when really he is just blue. And I think it really speaks to, kids who feel a little different than anyone else, whether it has to do with gender identity or just like how you feel different in the world. I think kids need books like that because they will read what they need into that metaphor and find what they need. And so I love stories that work on that level too.
I need books. Yeah, we start talking about kids reading, and that's my level. That's where I'm at. So, Josh, you're sort of out of the loop. Your kids.
Yeah, I'd have to say that my kids' book experience probably ended with Dragons Love Tacos.
That's a great book.
It's a good one, but yeah, not a lot of meaning behind there.
Have you seen?
But it's so fun though.
Have you seen The Bad Seed?
Yes, I have, and they have a sequel called The Good Egg.
Yes,
now.
I just bought that recently. I bought this for the wife, and The Bad Seed is a great book.
Really?
Yeah, it's got this little sunflower seed. It gets chewed up. It goes through all this stuff, he's cranky and angry. I self-identify a lot with that bad seed. And I haven't read the next one yet, but it looks pretty good too.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It kind of works on, the opposite level. If it's great to be good and follow the rules and do the things you need to do, but it's okay to step outside of that
Yeah,
some
it's
and
okay to be cranky
a little more
sometimes.
adventurous. So yeah.
I love it. So these are a lot of the stories and the lessons and the experiences that people will get at the festival.
Yes.
That is very family friendly, and we have, that sometimes is a rarity. In some of these, especially like a specific kind of genre festival, and parents that may be listening out there may not think, oh man, maybe my kid isn't going to be, can't sit down and listen to an author talk for. There will be things for children and families at this event, and I know that we have a lot of partnerships with like the library, the main library, the Greensboro Library. They do some work with us, so
children's young adult site, really, for all intents and purposes, is going to be the Central Library.
Mm-hmm.
So that works like a charm. We've got a partnership for the second year running with Greensboro Opera. There is going to be a 5th grader who has written an opera and a story called The Showdown, and then it's been converted into a libretto by Dave Holly. That'll be performed
Oh,
by
wow.
very cool.
the team of students. We've got a partnership with Greensboro Symphony. They are bringing in a drum line, and they've got a book that has been done by Connie and Schofield Morrison, and the illustrator is her husband, Frank Morrison. They're coming up, and that's got I Got Rhythm. And then we've got a partnership with the Science Center, and we're bringing in Jennifer Swanson, and she's doing a book that talks about the similarities between undersea exploration and outer space exploration.
Cool.
That's awesome. That's great.
And so a lot of this stuff, like I know that I Got the Rhythm is meant to be a get up and move type event, and the Science Center Jennifer Swanson collaboration is meant to be a very hands-on experience as well. So parents definitely don't need to worry about feeling like their kid's going to have to sit there quietly and be well behaved the whole time. We understand. I have 2 young children. We know they want to get up and move and be involved in it, and that's exactly what a lot of our children's programming is meant to incorporate and encourage.
And that's awesome. And we've been remiss to mention the date of the festival this year, May the 18th, or I guess it's 17, 18, 19, Friday,
Yes.
Saturday, Sunday.
The children's programming is primarily concentrated on Saturday the 18th,
Okay,
but
great.
the festival as a whole runs May 17th through 19th.
Yeah, wonderful.
With the kickoff on the 16th at the Weatherspoon.
Nice, very good. Right on. We'll
Good
mention the
location.
dates
Good
again,
location.
but usually I like to
Yep.
mention it out throughout. That's great. Wonderful partnerships. That's incredible. Those are really wonderful arts and cultural organizations throughout our community, and to hear that they're involved and willing to bring out and to be a part of it so much is just so. I mean, it's kudos. It's a test to everything you guys have done. So that's great. So what else do we want to talk about? So we've talked about things we've learned from last year. We've talked about some of our kids programming. I know that we have recently released a lot of the names and some of the folks that people can expect this year at the festival. Some really exciting names that I've heard, but I don't want to be the one to release them. But did you guys like to just talk about some of the authors that are actually coming in, and kind of we can let our listeners know exactly what to expect this year in mid-May as the festival approaches?
Well, just to let everyone know, you won't have to wait too long to find out the full roster of authors and illustrators attending. We will be announcing that this Friday the 22nd at noon. We will be announcing the full lineup, so you don't have to wait too long. But a couple of the people that we want to highlight for sure, our headliner for Saturday the 18th at 7 o'clock in the Cone Ballroom at UNCG is going to be Zadie Smith. Her debut novel was the novel White Teeth. She also has an essay collection called Feel Free, another novel called Swing Time, among a very expansive collection of published works, and we are so thrilled to be getting her in conjunction with the UNCG libraries. Helped us get Zadie Smith, so we really appreciate them being involved. That's just another great collaboration that we've had.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dean Martin Halbert reached out to us and said that UNCG Libraries wants to be increasingly a part of the community, and he thought what we were doing was a way that he could begin to get at that, and that we would be a good partnership for them. And this year when he came and said, we're going to move some of our programming to the same time frame as Greensboro Bound, gee, can we bring a major author and co-sponsor that author with you?
All
We said,
right.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
We can make that happen.
100%. Nice. Right, so that's a Saturday night headliner. How do you do headliners? You just have them like each night, or?
We usually have, I mean, we consider to a certain degree all of our authors,
Sure.
major authors, and we try to give everyone, as great a time slots as we can. But we typically have one ticketed event
Okay.
per day that is, in a larger venue can, it holds several hundred people. And Zadie Smith's is that for Saturday, and then for Sunday we actually just confirmed that 3 p.m. on Sunday at a Garrison Auditorium at North Carolina A&T State University, Ani DeFranco and Rihanna Giddens will actually be there. Ani
Heard of her.
has a memoir coming out on May 7th, and she will be here celebrating her new memoir
That's
and in
awesome.
conversation with Rhiannon. So
That's huge.
that is confirmed in the past 48
24 hours,
Yeah,
yeah.
so this is we're all still smiling ear to ear
It's
about that
so
one.
big. It's such a big deal, and we don't know yet if it's gonna be a ticketed event or not. But just the fact that it's happening on that Sunday is incredible. That is so wild. And so, what time was that again? On
That
Sunday?
one is at 3 on
3
Sunday,
p.m.
and that one will be at Garrison Auditorium at NC A&T
Nice.
State University.
Which seats quite a bit. I mean, that's over 1,000 people, I think, that
Mhm.
can fit in there. So
Yep.
that's awesome.
Harrison is where we actually concluded last year when we had Nikki Giovanni.
That's awesome. Well, these are big time headliners. Are there other people you want to discuss? I mean, are there other awesome authors? I know you have really a wide ranging, because the festival itself, hour wise, is primarily, so we have to kick off on Thursday night. On Friday the 17th, there's a
An evening presentation.
uh-huh.
And then Saturday, it starts at 10, runs to 6, and then there's some programming that evening. And then on Sunday weekend, we start roughly at noon, and we're still trying to figure out precisely what the impact of Brianna Giddens and Annie DeFranco's presentation is in the balance of Sunday.
I think you should err on the side of big impact, I
think
imagine.
so.
Yeah, we think
Probably.
so.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, wonderful. All right, we'll keep going. Well, I see you got a couple bios there. Do you have anybody that you'd really like to highlight?
Well, someone that we are great friends with at Scuppernong Books that we're thrilled is coming out for this year's festival is Wiley Cash. He is the author, his newest novel is called The Last Ballad, but he's also the author of A Land More Kind Than Home and This Dark Road to Mercy. He is a North Carolina author who is, a fairly nationally known and recognized guy, and we just love him. So we're thrilled to have him actually being a part of the festival this year.
That's awesome.
And it turns out that this is perhaps a little preliminary, but we've got a budding partnership with PEN America. PEN America is a nationwide organization, and that contact came from Steve Mitchell and Deanna Kelly, and PEN America is very excited about what we're doing, and so they're looking to contribute somehow, to be decided precisely what, but it may very well be that they bring someone down to have a conversation with Wiley. So that would be a marvelous, marvelous kind of kickoff
Nice.
on Friday evening.
And as we're going through and talking about a lot of this and the details, it is important to sort of, state that we are recording this in the middle of March. So, and we release on a set schedule, and this will come out, like I said, middle of April. But things change. Things, get altered and stuff at the last minute. So when it comes time for people to get the latest updates about sort of what is going on with the festival, where should they go and where should they turn?
Well, GreensboroBound.com is always a great resource. We
Right.
will be releasing the full roster of authors there, as well as on the Greensboro Bound Facebook page and Instagram. And actually, to help navigate the festival, we will also have a Greensboro Bound app that will be available
Nice.
for iOS systems and Android.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be great because we haven't mentioned yet that this is a festival that takes place all over downtown. So we have several locations in the Cultural Arts Center. We've talked about the Public Library downtown. We'll also be doing a few events at the Civil Rights Museum as well as at Triad Stage. And to help everyone navigate between all of what's happening all over downtown, the Greensboro Bound app will actually have a feature that is a walking map. So that as you're going between different venues for the festival,
Yeah.
you can see what is going on nearest to you, and your phone can tell you how to get between the different venues. So that app is going to launch sometime late April, and it's definitely a thing you're going to want to install when you come to the festival.
This is
because-
new. This wasn't a thing last year.
No, we are really fortunate to be working with a good friend of ours at the bookstore, Ben Singer, who is a developer who has kindly taken on developing a state-of-the-art app for us, so we are officially
That's awesome.
going digital.
That's great. That, I'm telling you, we did the same thing this past year with the folk festival.
Yep.
And because same type of thing, we have 8 different stages all throughout the downtown. And I mean, once we got, like, the core, like, functions of the app are incredible, right? Like, just being able to tell people what's closest to them. But then you can, like, really get advanced in there, like, once you learn a little bit more about it, you can interact with the people in different ways. We do pop-up things. We'd be just like, hey, you know, everybody within 100 feet of this location, there'd be like hey, there's a, you know, like Rhiannon, I think actually one night went and did a show at the library for just some kids, just out of nowhere, right?
Neat.
And, I mean, like,
That's cool.
like technology helps. I mean, you know, some people are used to the traditional way of just having it on paper and getting it from the newspaper or whatever. But
Which we will have too. We will have
Sure,
programs,
sure.
and for the analog folks like myself who really like having that written thing
Yeah,
to check out, we
of
will
course.
have a complete and detailed program and map to get you where you need to go on paper also.
right on.
It'll work really well because last year I feel like a lot of people were just happened to be downtown, didn't really know anything about the festival, but you could easily tell something was happening because there were people all over the place. You see Brian running around like crazy the whole time. So having this sort of app, you know, especially like advertised, you know, you can just download it and get an instant understanding of what is going on and where your interests lie.
And again, most of the events are free. I'm sure the app will show us what's free.
Yes.
So the majority of the events are free. A popular space to come and probably for people just to like take a park in any of the parking decks here around the cultural district, the Bellmead, the church, or the Davie parking deck, and then everything is easily on foot from there all around the space. So I mean, it's a very welcoming environment that the festival gives us here, both in the cultural center and at the library, wherever else. I did want to mention too. Most of these authors that people see, we do have the opportunity to buy the books, correct, throughout the opportunity.
You do.
I know there's a
Absolutely.
big merchandise setup that you guys do here in the Cultural Center. Can you tell us more about how that works?
Sure. The structure basically is that Scuppernong is providing the books by the authors who are at the festival. We have other exhibitors and other vendors, a limited number, but the upshot is that we want to enable anybody who has a desire to meet an author to have a chance to listen to him, go buy the book, and then have a conversation with the author.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
awesome.
one-on-one. Yeah, I got to do that last year. It was so funny. I haven't seen my wife like ever kind of fangirl out, and John T. Edge, after his discussion, I was like, come on, let's get a picture with him and get a book. And she's like, yeah, I just want to buy the book. And so we bought the book, and then I made her stand in line and get a picture.
Josh Sherritt
And-
calling his wife out over
And
the
she
air.
was like so red in the face, and we had it was a great picture though. Now I'm like, look, see, we got a great picture out of it. That's
Sure, she was fine. She handled it with class and dignity.
yeah.
Well, and anybody who's looking for that kind of experience with John T. Edge last year, we do have another like, food and TV based
Oh,
pair of authors that are going to be here. Matt and Ted Lee of Southern Uncovered with the Lee Brothers on the Ovation Network are going to be here with their new
Okay.
books. So for any, just as an aside, for any of the food book and food TV fans who are coming, Matt and Ted Lee will be here. So,
Very cool.
and they are two very nice, gracious guys, as are most of our authors. So
Yeah.
yeah, the authors are always thrilled to talk to people and to take pictures and sign books because this is their deal. This is kind of
Yeah.
what you try to go to and
Sure.
get into as an author. So
Sure.
they're always thrilled to meet people.
it's their Super Bowl right here.
Absolutely. We've also got on the young adult side, we made an explicit attempt to really bring in people that we wanted from the YA standpoint and young adult. And so we've got Lamar Giles, who was an Edgar Award-winning, Edgar Award finalist. We've got Bill Konigsberg, and Shannon can talk more about him. We've got a woman by the name of Amy Reed who did what I think is one of the best books that I read in 2018 called Our Voices Ourselves. It's YA, but it's talking about a woman's perspective and women's perspective on what's transpired in the past couple of years.
Our stories, our voices.
Keep doing it.
It is
There
a
you go.
fabulous book, though.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's good.
so,
That's good.
yeah, so we've got, and that is really where we have tried to pursue a little something for everyone, is in our middle grade and YA programming on the slightly older children's set of things. Because I know last year at the festival, we had a few different YA authors, but it was very much mixed in with the adult programming and not really an afterthought, but definitely not as much energy put into it. So this year we decided we wanted to have an exclusively, you know, like late chapter book and young adult section and area, and especially devoted spaces in the library just for those fans to come and meet people. So.
And it turns out that we've got a woman by the name of Jo Hackle who will be she is an author for the next year of, quote, Battle of the Books, which is a statewide event that brings kids in to learn about specific books.
Heck yeah.
That sounds pretty intense, Battle of the Books.
It's really fun. Definitely encourage all the kids to take part in their schools. It's great.
It's awesome.
Steve, how does this festival compare? You've seen some other book festivals, correct? So how does this compare to some of the stuff that you've seen in the past?
We're different and we're the same. The same is, to me, part of the joy of this is when you get readers and writers together, there's just remarkable energy that takes place. And I know I always learn something when I'm listening to people who know more than I do. And so that's just marvelous. And then you hear different perspectives, etc. All of that is somewhat similar. What's different is we're newer. The closest one nearby is Bookmarks, and they've now about to have 15 years. The one that I imprinted on is Miami Book Fair, and it's one of the older in the United States, and it's actually the largest. It runs 8 days and has about 100,000 people show up. All of our programming last year, we probably were looking at like 11,000 people, and that includes the festival plus authors engaging students, which is our school program, plus some other stuff. And so again, we're looking to grow, and where we're looking to see the most significant difference, hopefully, is the number of people that are able to be downtown with us in May.
Did Greensboro feel like a natural fit? Because, I mean, I might be biased, but I mean, it definitely felt when it was being planned and when it actually happened, going downtown that week, that it just clicked. Like everything just seemed to click, and it seemed to be a natural fit.
It did. And Shannon may get embarrassed by this, but I always say,
Please,
this
go ahead.
entire thing started with Shannon. So Vivian Howard is having her launch. She's in front of Scuppernong. She's serving food. There's like 350 people jammed into Scuppernong. And I had only been here for like 2.5, 3 months. And I wander in, and Shannon says, wow, it's so nice to see a friendly face. And I'm like, what? And she says, 50% of the people here tonight have never been in Scuppernong before. And that was kind of like the original trigger. Here's all these people so excited to see Vivian Howard. 50% of them had never been there before. It's like you get the right people, poof, all that energy and joy and love, it happens.
It's true, and so I grew up in Greensboro and then was away for a while and moved back about 5 years ago. And one thing that I've noticed about Scuppernong Books and since the festival has been founded and launched the festival as well, it seems like Greensboro always needed something like this. Like that, because I've worked for the bookstore for about 4.5 years now, and it just felt like you would see people come in and they're so excited to have these authors, and there's such a vibrant intellectual community in Greensboro that I don't think a lot of people realizes exists. There's people hungry for conversations about books and about music and about art, and it really is such a prevalent thing in the city that once it was there, and once we had an independent bookshop fostering those things and a literary festival fostering those kinds of dialogues, you kind of looked around and were like, how did we not always have this?
Yeah.
Like, we needed it so badly.
It was even amusing as part of the effort to get funding last year. We were obviously writing grants and such, and we discovered in April of 1998 there was an article in the News and Record that was entitled, it was an opinion piece that said, we ought to do a book festival. And it said, we need to use the Cultural Center, we need to use the library, et cetera, et cetera. And so, it took 20 years later, but it came.
That's funny. That's funny. So I think we've given the dates of the festival. We'll give it again. The 16th, the kickoff at the Weatherspoon Art Museum on UNCG's campus, and then the festival was a 3-day festival on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of May, Lord. So that's all great. You did mention earlier to us that there was another event in April that
Yes.
that you wanted to talk about too?
Yeah, so this is kind of an extension of our larger Authors Engaging Students program that Steve brought up. So I don't think a lot of people realize Greensboro Bound, in addition to being Greensboro Bound Literary Festival, also has a lot of ongoing programming throughout the year. A lot of the adult side stuff is featured at Scuppernong Books, and then we have Authors Engaging Students on the kids side. And that is a program where we bring authors into schools to do presentations to the kids directly there at school. And Scuppernong offers book sales to the kids who would like to buy books, and then Greensboro Bound donates 10 books of that author's available titles to each school that we send an author to. So we, in 2018, we were fortunate to be able to serve over 5,000 kids with author visits between elementary and middle school. And this year we're expanding it to some high school visits too. So we're hoping to get over 7,000 kids in 2019 served with author visits.
Alright.
And one of the most exciting things that we have coming in association with that is back in the fall, Scuppernong Books participated in a program through the American Booksellers Association called Indies Give Back, where we donated a grade-wide set of Jason Reynolds' novel Ghost to the 5th graders at Moorhead Elementary. And because we participated in that, we were eligible to apply to have Jason Reynolds come and do a public reading that will be open to the public, and to do a pro bono school visit and school-wide book giveaway to a Title I school. And Scuppernong and Greensboro Bound was one of 2 bookstores in the country selected to have Jason Reynolds coming in May. So
Congrats, that's huge.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So he will be coming to Wiley Middle School in Winston-Salem for a private school visit and doing a school-wide book giveaway of special editions of his novel Ghost on April 25th. And the night before that, April 24th, Jason will be here doing a free open to the public reading and book signing at the Union Square Auditorium on Gate City Boulevard. And that's at 7 o'clock on April the 24th.
That's awesome.
And
How exciting.
seating is limited to 300 people, first come, first serve. So everyone, I definitely encourage you to get there a little early, because I have a
I'd say
feeling
so.
we are going to pack the place out, so.
Awesome. That's really great. Good news. Lastly, I wanted to mention also, does the festival still have opportunities to be involved, for folks to be involved? I know a lot of times we hear from our fans of the podcast and just through other networks, like, how can I be involved? This sounds like a really cool thing. There's still plenty of time from when the time they're listening to this to get involved. Is it just volunteer opportunities, or how might people get involved at this point?
Probably 2 key ways. One, we have a public information meeting essentially once a month, and the next one will be April 7th, and then the next one will be really almost on top of the festival, but probably somewhere at the end of the first week of May. And so that's a kind of a standing thing that we do to make sure there's always momentum around this. The other piece, specifically if someone wants to volunteer, on our website, www.greensborobound.com, then there is, on the left-hand navigation bar, there's how to volunteer, and then there's an entire, once you hit that, there's information on choosing what you'd like to do, when you'd like to do it, etc. Part of the theory behind that too is we want the volunteers to have a really great time, so you can sure volunteer for more than one slot.
Right.
But the idea is choose one so you can play the rest of the time.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
most definitely.
Absolutely.
It's a sneaky way to I do that for volunteer in all kinds of different festivals. I go for 4 hours and then I enjoy myself for 8 hours. That's part of the thing. Well, wonderful. Okay, so we got greensborobound.com is the website. Social media tags. Do we have any social media connections?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Okay, very cool.
The big 3.
The big 3. Anything, Matt? What do you got? Did I
I
miss anything?
am pretty excited. I had such a good experience last year that I think I'm sort of ready. The biggest thing I took away last year is I got the book, The Yellow Bird, and you know, as somebody that was in the Army and spent some time in Iraq and stuff like that, I forget his name. I'm a terrible
Kevin
person.
Powers.
Yes. So that was one that connected with me, and I feel like, you know, you come down here, there's something that will connect with everybody, no matter your sort of background. You'll be able to find that, and I'm excited to do it again.
Right on. Shannon?
I would just say that, yeah, there's definitely something for everybody who wants to come. We've made a concerted effort to have as many representations of types of books, whether you're interested in poetry. We have the poet Ross Gay coming, as well as some great local and semi-local poets who are going to be here. We've got short stories and more literary side of things. We've got nonfiction books about cooking. There's a yoga event that's going to be happening with a yoga book that we're going to have.
All right.
There's going to be, the kids' books. There's going to be the traditional novels and people that you see on that side of things. And then, as we've already talked about, a lot of our children's and young adult programming, but we'll have tons of family-friendly events and kids' events, and several LGBT authors. We actually have an entire panel talking about LGBT authors and writing the LGBT experience, whom Bill Koningsberg is going to be one of the people on that. He is a YA author who specializes in LGBT fiction that I am particularly excited to
All
meet.
right.
And so there really is, whatever you're interested in, once we release the full lineup, go on and take a look at the different panels, because I guarantee you will find something that you just cannot wait to see.
It's wonderful.
Awesome.
All right, so we have the April 24th event at Union Square campus. We have the festival on the 16th, 17th, and 18th and 19th. And then, probably most importantly, just come down to Scuppernong and check it out. The book, I promise you, I promise every listener, you will not be disappointed by just coming down to the bookstore and browsing around, having some of the coffee, have a drink, whatever. But just spend a little bit of time in your community independent bookstore. It's a really valuable thing, and we appreciate both of you for your effort and your commitment to Greensboro and making it a great place, man. It really means a lot to us, so thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, right on. All right, well, before we go, we want to remind everyone to leave us a bit of feedback, write a review, and share our podcast with someone, anyone, just one person. As always, we can't tell you how much we appreciate all the positive support. It really does mean so much to Matt and I. All right, well, thank you for listening. Gate City Chatter is brought to you by the City of Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department in cooperation with Press Play Studios. New episodes go live every other week, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GC Chatter. And you can search us up on YouTube.
The YouTube.
At the gate, you can just search Gate City Chatter, and you can find us there. Thank you, all those YouTube fans. We love you out there.
Hey.
All right, so until next time, Greensboro, this is Josh Eric, my co-host Matt Feltz.
Take care, Greensboro.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.